This is not going to be just another simple how to tie a PVA bag video. That has been done to death. In this video I'm going to be looking at all of those things that no one really ever talks about, but if you add them all together you can take your PVA bag fishing to the next level. There are two fundamentally different types of material that are used. These ones from Nash are a pre-perforated bag. That means that they're covered in loads of little holes. These ones from Corda are a solid PVA material. There's no holes in these, and in order to get a nice tight bag that's going to sink neatly through the water column, we're going to have to punch holes in a solid bag. A pre-perforated bag will basically save you time. If you want to use a lot of liquid in the bag, the liquid can actually get squeezed out when you're making the bag and it can all get a bit sticky. I also find that pre-perforated bags are easier to get nice and tight, and a nice tight bag is just easier to cast, and this is really important when we're trying to get some range on these things. Small PVA bags are perfect for long range work. Their small aerodynamic shape enables them to be cast further. The most popular choice is a medium-sized bag. With the right gear, I have no problem launching a medium PVA bag, 23, 24 wraps, something like that. Large PVA bags are quite popular in bait boats or rowing boats because you can get a large amount of bait directly down onto a spot exactly where you need it. If you're fishing on deeper venues, when you're trying to drop a bag from a boat and you need to get it through the water, 20 feet or something in order to get to your spot, if you poured the same amount of bait in from above, the amount of drift, you'd never get any bait actually on the spot. But a large PVA bag enables you to get bait right tight over that rig exactly where you want it. PVA bags, when combined with a lead and a bait fully loaded, can weigh quite heavy. I made up some medium-sized solid PVA bags, and with a 2.5 ounce lead, the bag weighs up to 5.5 grams, and that's quite a lot of weight to cast. If you've got lightweight 2.5 pound rods, you're really going to struggle to get these any distance at all, and if you do run the risk of literally exploding your rod. For my PVA bag fishing, I use 3 pound 6 ounce test curve rods. If you've got 2.5 or 2 3/4 pound test curve rods, I'd advise you to stick to small PVA bags, just because you'll be able to cast them well. You won't be able to get much bait in there, but at least you can fish with this technique, and it's a really powerful technique. There's a small solid PVA bag, 2.5 ounce lead, and that's coming in at 3.8 ounces. In terms of rig choice, you've got to go with a supple material, but after then you can go any which way you want. For this demonstration I've tied up a simple slip D rig with a little 15mm pop-up. I'm going to grab one of my size 6 Nash shod twisters, and I'm going to grab some 35-pound armour link, and I'm going to go up through the eye. I'm going to go underneath the shank there, so I want that loop to be the length of the shank. I'm going to start whipping the knotless knot, and I'm going to go to the side that's opposite the break in the eye to start with, because that's going to be much more secure, and I'm just going to trap that tag in there like that. 1, 2, 3. I'm only going to go 4 turns round, doesn't need anything more than that. Pinch that, and I'm going to measure that off at about 17 centimetres. Then I'm going to thread from the back out the front, and that is going to help this rig turn over every time. The next thing we need to do is tie an overhand loop about that long. I just need this loop big enough to pop the pop-up through, basically, because I'm going to do a loop-to-loop connection. I just give this a little tweak, don't need to pull hard, and trim the tag end. I'm going to take some shrink tube and I'm going to cut a couple of bits, shrink tube onto the needle and the second piece, and we thread those 2 bits of shrink tube onto this rig. So the reason I'm going to put some shrink tube over here is I want to trap that tag end. So I'm just going to push that over there. It's basically going to turn the whole hook into a slightly longer shank hook. You can see when I pull that straight, it just holds it in place nicely. Just make sure that other tag end is flat in that piece there. Steam that too while we're at it. Perfect. So that's the finished rig. All we're going to do now is mount a pop-up on that. And we thread the mono through the loop. So we go through and then we go back the other way. And we pass the mono through the D-loop, snag it again through the baiting needle, pull that through, pull the pop-up up until you've got about 3 centimetres of that tag end remaining, then pull that down until that loop closes down to about 3 mil, something like that. Just allows a little bit of movement there, acts as a pivot. I'm not worried about turning this into some kind of spinny arrangement with a micro ring swivel. I found that this is all you need to get that plenty of bait movement and to get the mechanics right. Then we'll just cut that tag end there and we'll just burn those down and blob those over. Okay, to finish I'm going to balance that with an AA split shot, and that eccentric split shot is helping that hook hang down always. When it comes to lead choice, the one thing that is absolutely crucial is that you need to use an inline lead. You haven't got very much space inside the bag. We really don't want to be filling up that space with lead clips and tail rubbers. If I were to just insert the swivel there and mount the rig in the conventional manner, what's going to happen is that the carp's going to pick up this rig and he's going to use the weight of the lead to throw that rig. And he's going to find it even easier to do that because we're using short hook links. What will happen is you'll get maybe a flurry of beeps and then nothing. Basically the fish has got away with it. By removing the insert and then swapping the insert for something else, it enables us to stop the carp from getting away from it. Stick to inline leads, remove the insert, and you will dramatically improve the success of this technique. I would always go for a leadless leader because it enables us to loop ready-made leaders with a bag onto the main line. Super convenient, and as long as rules allow, a leadless leader is absolutely the way to go. You can use rig tubing for solid PVA bag fishing, but the trouble is you're going to have to make up a bag at a time. You won't be able to pre-make bags, and it's just slower and makes it harder work. Okay, rig's done, lead system is done. All we need to do now is build a bag. So there's loads of options when it comes to what we actually put in a PVA bag. If you haven't got to chuck them very far, you can literally just fill them with a load of whole boilies. It's not going to be very aerodynamic, but it will work. Another option would be some crumbed or flaked boilie. This is some off-the-shelf ready-made flake, and you can see it's lovely stuff. There's quite a few lumps in here. I could put that in a bag, but again, it wouldn't be perfectly aerodynamic. My favourite way of making PVA bags is to actually take regular whole boilies and blend them to a really fine crumb in a liquidizer. So that's going to make a beautifully round compact bag that I can get really nice and tight. The other ingredients I'm going to add into this bag are some matching 6mm pellets and then just a little bit of syrup. Okay, let's get one of these PVA bags. It's covered with these tiny perforations, which is going to help us build a really nice and secure compact bag, and it's also going to sink nicely through the water. So we're going to drop the rig inside the bag. The pop-up goes in first, as I'm looking to keep the pop-up right in the middle of the bag there. And in order to ensure that it stays in the middle of the bag, I'm just going to nick the hook outside of the bag like that. This means that when I'm moving the bag around, the pop-up can't disappear over to one side or the other. I just splay my fingers like that, put the lead in between like that, then we're ready to put some mix in there. Right, once we've got a couple of centimetres of crumb in that bag, we'll just take the lead and we put the lead right in the middle of that crumb. if the hook link's looping up a bit, just tuck the hook link into the crumb. You can help this by adding just a bit more crumb over the top. We want that hook link to be coiled up stage by stage. We don't want the hook link wrapping up round the back of the leader there. And we're above the lead now, and I just hold the bag and I work with my finger and I start just compressing lightly the crumb, and I'm making sure that the lead stays in the middle of the bag, because if the lead is not in the middle of the bag, this bag will not fly true and square. It's really important that the lead goes at the bottom of the bag so that I can just feel the bottom of the lead there. It's no good having the lead all the way up here, otherwise this bag will fly all over the place. It'll wobble, you won't get any distance, and you'll be very limited as to what you can do. I can then introduce some pellet and just dribble that in. Because this pellet is quite lightweight and there's plenty of gaps in between the pellet, it's the perfect time to introduce some liquid. We don't have to put masses in, just a nice little dribble, and pour some more crumb over the top of that pellet. And you can see we've got about 2 centimetres there air gap at the top of the bag, and I've made sure as well that the leader is stayed completely central. It's no good if the leader was coming out one side of the bag or the other. It needs to be right in the middle of that crumb like that. Now we can start to massage this bag, and we start to twist the top, and these perforations in this bag going to enable me to start to compress this down into a really nice, neat, tight aerodynamic package. I'm not squeezing hard, I'm just turning and I'm twisting. Now to finish, I'm just going to grab some fast melt tape. I'm just going to wrap it round 4 times, pull it to break it, take those tag ends, and we just do some granny knots to tie that bag off. There we go, snip that. If we start to get a little bit of ooze, that's not too bad actually, just a little bit of ooze coming through the perforations there. If you want to keep your hands dry, just dust that in the crumb, and that will absorb any excess moisture. I'm just going to pinch those corners in like that. Lick that little triangle that we've got there and just form that over into a nice neat package. Little lick, fold it over, and we get a really nice neat aerodynamic shape like that. Once we're happy with the form of the bag, just lick the inside of the excess there and the outside. You've got to like the bait that you're using to do this, because you will be tasting it most of the day. And that forms a nice aerodynamic tag. Just going to trim that excess off there because I don't like that. And that's the finished bag. Really neat, really compact, well formed, and will cast a long way. And you remember I said it's important to get the lead down this end. Well, if I just balance that, if I put that halfway there, the bag is absolutely balanced forward like that. If the lead was back there, this bag would fly very badly indeed. So that's one bag done. All I'm going to do now is make 2 more, and then what we're going to do is we're going to loop them to the main line. To set this up for a loop-to-loop connection, I'm going to use a non-slip mono loop knot. And to tie that knot, what you do is tie an overhand knot in the line like that, and we need to make a fairly big loop. So I'm going to put that overhand knot about 20 centimetres down from the loop. Then we form a big loop, and we pass the line, and the line needs to exit the same side as this main line coming off here. And we can see that's going to make a nice big loop we can pass the PVA bag through. As long as we can pass the bag through, it's big enough. And then we just take the tag end and we whip round 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to pass through the same way that we came in up to there, and we can start doing that knot up there. Wrap my light around so we can get a good pull on this. Wet it again, and we just cinch that down. And you need to pull really hard, and if you break it, do it again. And we just take our tag end off there. So if we just grab our bag here and then grab the leadless leader, and we pass the big loop, the big mono loop, through the loop in the leadless leader. Then we take the PVA bag and we pass the bag through that big loop. We just draw the two together and we form this loop to loop connection. Okay, so that's my solid PVA bag all ready to go, and all we got to do is lob it out and catch a carp. Now it might be tempting to make these up the night before you go fishing, but if you do that, especially if you've added liquid, you'll probably find that the bag is quite soft by the time you go to cast it. Now if you're only fishing short or medium range, that doesn't matter so much, but if you're going for maximum range and this bag goes soft, it will not fly well. So my advice is, if you're going for maximum range and you want to make them up a number of hours in advance, maybe even the night before, don't put any liquid in. If you just keep it dry and nice dry ingredients in there, you'll probably find that the bag stays tighter. When you're fishing with solid PVA bags, it's absolutely vital that all the rig components are bone dry before you start to build the bag. I've just dunked this one in the lake to demonstrate the procedure that I go through in order to dry this out, because everything's wet, the leader's wet, it's all wet, and it all needs to be dried. So what I do to accelerate the process, just get a cloth and I dry off the whole of the leader, just squeeze the moisture out like that. Then what I do is I take the lead off the insert and I take the insert away from the swivel, and then all of that can get dried as well. The inside of all the holes of these components gets wet as well, so what I do, I just blow them out, and the lead as well. The pop-up will be wet as well, so that's going to have to be cut off and a new pop-up done on. And then I dab all this down with a cloth. Then of course I'd inspect the hook. If this hook was damaged, I've got two options. I can either resharpen it or I can bin it. And the only downside is with the slip D is you'd have to bin the whole rig. So if you've got the skills to resharpen it, then great. But yeah, there's only so far that you can take these things. And if you've lost more than about 1 mil, 1.5 mil of point length by the time you've resharpened it, then you're wasting your time. Bin the hook, bin the rig, just tie another one. If you're a bit pushed for time and you need to dry this out even more, what you can do is you can dunk the whole load in some crumb. So we just take all the rig, and I've just left all the components. I can see that that's a little bit damp there as well. So just take all the components, flick a bit of crumb over it all, and that crumb will just absorb any remaining moisture. You might have to give it a bit of a puff off to stop the crumb jamming everything up. Reassemble the insert in there like that, and then that's ready to go for a new bag. The big advantage with putting the lead inside the bag is that they're really easy to cast. Your cast can be absolutely spectacularly rubbish. You can be really awful at casting, but if you can tie a good solid PVA bag, you can catch carp time after time. So they're a fantastic choice if you're just getting into the sport. If the venue that you're fishing is quite deep, in excess of like 12 feet deep, then what you might want to consider is double bagging a solid PVA bag. What you don't want to do is launch a bag into deep water, and if you're feeling it fall through the water and you suddenly feel the lead accelerate, what's happened is that the bag has burst mid-water, the lead's fallen out the bag and then accelerated and hit the bottom. So if you're having that happen to you, then double bag, and it'll ensure that you get the bait to where you want it right over your rig. If you're looking for a rig where you can change the hook in seconds, then do check out my blowback multi-rig. It's another ideal option for work with solid PVA bags.